What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So talking about consoles, there is a trend that you always see. Whenever Xbox falls short on something, and even sometimes when they gain ground, it's either overly played in terms of, oh, this is so bad, or it's downplayed because it's not really much of a big deal, even though it's significant enough. And this has just come about with xCloud. The conversation about xCloud basically on terms of it running the Series S version of games through streaming compared to what PlayStation is doing with their cloud service where they're running 4K gaming. So you look at this feature by Thomas Morgan, senior staff of Digital Foundry. He's talking about basically both streaming services, saying that Sony's PlayStation Cloud offers streaming at 4K, while in regard to the Series, in regard to Xbox's xCloud streaming, they're running the Series S versions of their games. Now, as to cloud technology, I guess this kind of exposes a lot of the CMA's own, lies when Activision was about to be acquired. Because remember, the CMA said that the biggest issue that they had problems with was the fact that they thought Microsoft was going to dominate in cloud, right? Do y'all remember that? And then they made Microsoft, or at least Microsoft made some provisions to divest some of its cloud business to Ubisoft as handling the commercial side of things. So again, I think what we're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen, is the hypocrisy that surrounds, Xbox's advancements. Yet PlayStation and their CEO was going around at the time finding ways to put a stop to that merger, because that merger basically broke and exposed PlayStation as having an archaic, ancient, what I think is anti-consumer stance on a lot of things. Because when you think about it, why is this cloud thing coming into perspective and seeing that Microsoft is actually kind of behind on its cloud, when Microsoft already kind of knew and said, we're not really that big on trying to do anything cloud-based or hold this cloud-based market. We want to take on Activision because, number one, they want to be sold. Number two, it fits our business plans. So I guess we're not doing that anymore. This has now exposed something that people probably didn't think, but guess what? They're already console warring about it, because a lot of these so-called console warriors or whatever they are, they're not really thinking about the big picture. They can't really see how this makes everything look kind of stupid at the end of the day. And it brings me to this conversation that I've had in the last few weeks. I've been talking about how Xbox has basically outclassed PlayStation in a lot of metrics, including the entirety of the console war. Because when you say it, people say, well, how is it possible? PlayStation sold more consoles. I can see from a mathematical stance how you may think, okay, yeah, this metric, in all reality, because you've been pushing out more consoles, you've probably been able to win in that regard. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a 2021 article that's really interesting, because I'm really shocked as to how this article was framed in the first place. It's right here in front of us, right? So look at this title of this article. Sony says $499 PS5 no longer sells at a loss. This is in contrast with an article that says Microsoft loses up to $200 on every Xbox console sold. This was reported by the same journalist, Matthew Humphries, both articles, one in 2021, which was a Sony one, and then in 2022, which was the one surrounding Xbox. Now, not saying Matthew Humphries has any, notions or any sinister, ideas he's trying to convey. He's just reporting what, is said. Because if you read both articles, you'll see exactly what's going on. This was from an Xbox executive who basically said this. This is Phil Spencer, who said that they're losing anywhere from $100 to $200 for every Xbox sold. However, in the PlayStation one, it says Sony says. So this was also a Sony executive, their chief financial officer, who confirmed that the $499 PS5 console is no longer selling at a loss. However, in here, in this same article, the second paragraph, the $399 digital edition of the PS5 was not profitable, because that loss, in Sony's mind, was going to be made up by peripheral sales and the continued PS4 sales. So ideally, the PlayStation 5 console still had a loss version attached to it. And even yet, PlayStation has backed away from this entire $499 PS5, seeing that the $499 PS5 is no longer $499. So however, maybe at the time It was no longer selling at a loss because of that price. But now that the price has come down, we can't even be certain anymore if this is the case, that the $499 PS5 is not selling at a loss. In fact, our conclusion at this point can be that, yes, both of them, the $499 PS5 or formerly $499 PS5, this version, and digital version, are selling at a loss. So how is it a win if you sell more consoles at a loss than your competition? How is that a win? It's not a win. In fact, it's not a win, seeing that the reason these consoles were sold at a loss in bulk or in terms of more units are not converting in the way that they would love. And the conversion that I mean is they're not selling as many PlayStation exclusive games as one would think. Instead, now these games have successfully sold more Activision games and more Minecraft games, which both belong to Microsoft, and have inadvertently, or however you want to put it, made Microsoft more money, rather than make Sony Interactive Entertainment Studios more money, because the conversion rate is abysmal compared to, say, as you know, in my opinion, what I call a sustainable entity like Nintendo. Even though I'm not a fan of Nintendo, because I think they also have a lot of anti-consumer practices, Xbox, the only reason they're actually much more consumer friendly is because they were forced into it by losing a lot of ground to, PlayStation. So it's not like I sit here and I say, like somebody said, Xbox, they were telling me in one of my videos, Xbox is not the good guy here. Never said that. Just pointing out the reality of how perception has really allowed for Sony to run wild. Again, it brings me back to the beginning of this entire video where I said, remember when the CMA said that cloud was the big deal, right? That it seemed that Microsoft was trying to gain more ground and an unfair competitive advantage via cloud. Now seeing that, their cloud is being clowned on. Look at that, right? Look at this. Look at people clowning on them, right? When in reality, many of these same people may have been in a position where they were saying, yes, it's because they want to be a monopoly, blah, 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 blah. And Sony basically playing woe is me at the time. Again, the perception that you see is not really in the fine details. One of my audience members was talking to me about this, and I was quite shocked. They said, I needed to do better, or I needed to be successful. In fact, somebody told me one time in a video that I hope that you are never successful on YouTube. Why? Why did they say that? Because I called out the fact that a lot of people are actually spreading what is more biased than what is actually factual. And people don't like being wrong. People don't like being told that they've been fooled. That's a big problem you're going to face. But we have been fooled. We've had cloth over our eyes as PlayStation had been, in a sense, gouging our pockets. I've been a PC player since the PlayStation 4 days. That's when I moved to PC. But I kept on with the PlayStation ecosystem. I was paying PS Plus. I was buying exclusives. And then seeing that, man, this company is not really serious about providing a good value proposition compared to Xbox. There's no need to support the platform anymore. You got to put your money in a place where your money is going to be valued. You're the customer. You call the shots. And so I usually tell people, I'm like, come to PC. That's where it's at. Some people say PC is expensive and all that. We can make videos and we can break it all down and look at the cost of running a PlayStation console or an Xbox console compared to a PC. And when we do the numbers and when we do the math, you realize that you're overpaying for subpar hardware. And maybe you call these things convenience, but it is not convenient on your wallet. Now, if it's your preference and you're not really worried about, how much money you're spending, that's fine. That's a whole different conversation, right? But it's a conversation of preference at that point. And I'm not saying it's wrong one way or the other. I'm just pointing out that it appears that so-called market leader has only been market leader via perception for the longest time. They never could mitigate or even predict or have any way to hedge the possibility that Microsoft was going to get in there and really take them at the core of their business. It was a very simple equation. Microsoft could have targeted either EA or Activision. Activision just seemed like the sensible one to go for because they had the profits on the books. EA did not necessarily have that. And I'll talk about that in my next video because I really want to point this out to a lot of folk who are saying this stuff. So thanks so much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.